I told you that not believing in God doesn't automatically make you an atheist? Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, isn't that the literal definition? Well, kind of, but also no. Because when people hear atheist, they don't just think of someone who lacks belief in God. They think of someone who's joined the atheist club. And honestly, I don't want to be in any club. I'm skeptical of God, skeptical of the Bible, and especially skeptical of anyone claiming that the Bible is inerrant. But does that have to make me an atheist? And no, I can promise you this is not yet another video discussing the differences between atheists and agnostics. Instead, I have some thoughts of my own that might be new for you. So hang out for a few minutes, and by the end of this short video, you just might start to see belief and unbelief in a completely different way. So, let's talk about this whole unbeliever thing. See, when people hear I don't believe in the God of the Bible, the first reaction is usually, oh, so you're an atheist. But my answer, not exactly. The problem is that the term atheist doesn't just mean lacking belief in God anymore. Modern day atheism is a movement, a worldview, and a lot of Christians claim that atheism is actually a belief system of its own. And while that isn't necessarily true, it's become much more of an identity that people take on. And listen, I get it. There's a lot of appeal to becoming part of a community where you get to dunk on religious fundamentalists. And if you grew up in a church like me, it's nice to finally not have to explain why an all-loving God keeps letting bad things happen. It sounds like a win, right? But for me, skepticism isn't about swapping one belief system for another. It's about asking the questions. And that's where I differ from a lot of modern atheists. But before we get to that, if this episode is making you think a little bit, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe so you'll keep seeing this content as new videos come out. And please join the conversation in the comments. Today's topic is really about my opinion, so I would love to hear your thoughts. So now let's talk about modern atheism for a second. We all know that at its core, atheism is just the absence of belief in God. But if you spend 5 minutes on the internet, you'll notice something else. Atheism has rules now. You're expected to believe and do certain things. You have to believe that science will answer everything, and mock anyone who chooses to believe in God. And apparently we all have to worship Richard Dawkins, or at least put him on a pedestal. And sure, rejecting religious dogma is one thing, but when atheism itself becomes dogmatic, that's when I tap out. And I believe there's room in the middle for those who are just asking the questions. And sometimes that means being willing to call out the BS on both sides. You see, many atheists ridicule Christians for believing in a God without definitive scientific evidence. But isn't it equally faith-based to believe without current evidence that science will one day fully explain consciousness, the universe's existence, or how life began in the first place? This is what I mean. Just because I doubt that Christianity is the truth doesn't mean I have to convert to another belief system. I'm okay with not having all the answers. So if I'm not an atheist and I don't believe in God, then what does that make me? Well, personally, I like the term skeptic. Why? Because while I'm skeptical of God, I'm even more skeptical of certainty, especially when it comes to religion. Do I think the Bible is the inerrant word of God? No, I don't. Do I think Jesus was a real historical figure? Probably. Do I think the Christian God exists? Well, based on my studies, it seems very unlikely, but I can't say it's impossible. I can't be certain, and that's the point. I don't need to join any club because skepticism doesn't require me to land on a final answer. A skeptic is someone who recognizes the influence of Christianity, questions its claims, and refuses to accept easy answers. And this is the crucial part. I don't accept easy answers from either side. Now, it's important to say here that I do think that one side is worse when it comes to logic, and that's why I pick on Christianity in almost all of my videos. One of the biggest reasons I stay skeptical? The Bible itself. Because let's be real, if the Bible were truly inerrant, we wouldn't have hundreds of different denominations arguing over what it actually says. I mean, think about it. How do we reconcile a God of love in the New Testament with the God of genocide in the Old Testament? Why can't the New Testament decide how you get your salvation? Is it by faith, or by works, or both? Why did the four Gospels give us four different versions of the same events that cannot be reconciled? And why did God, who apparently spoke directly to people in the Bible, suddenly switch to ghosting humanity for the last 2,000 years? I mean, God was super communicative in the Old Testament, but now we can't even get a new phone, who dis, from God. I'm just saying it's a bit suspicious, but I need to start wrapping things up. The point of my video today is that being a believer or an atheist is not the only option. You don't have to be 100% in or 100% out. You don't have to pledge allegiance to Christianity or atheism. You can just be skeptical, like me. And that's what so many people miss. They believe if you start questioning God, you have to go all the way to the other side. But the reality is, most of us are just trying to figure things out. Skepticism means keeping your mind open, not just to doubt, but to the possibility of new perspectives. So, do you have to be an atheist if you don't believe in God? Absolutely not. You can be skeptical. You can be uncertain. You can question everything without feeling pressured to pick a side. And if that resonates with you, then congratulations, you might be a skeptic too. And if you are, you'll definitely be interested in this video about the contradictions in the Bible that you probably haven't heard before. So go ahead and check that out next. As always, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Faith in Question.